Welcome to the Honor It All podcast. I'm Honor Garrett, your host, and we are here to honor all that is good in the world. Each podcast, I interview top professionals from around the globe who are making a difference, impacting lives, and creating positive change. Today, we have the incredible transformational coach, Susan Hales. She is an ambassador for one of the largest leading educational platforms for coaches. Susan is known for her rapid results and has quite an impressive high-achieving clientele spanning 3 countries. I'm so excited for Susan to share her story as she joins us all the way from Northern Ireland today. Welcome, Susan. We're so glad you're here.
Hi, Honor. Thank you so much for having me today. I am super excited.
Well, I'm just so glad that we've connected and we've met through kind of the coaching ranks. But tell me a little bit about your story. Where are you from and how did you become a coach and why?
Oh my goodness, that is the biggest question ever. Where do I start? So where am I from? I'm from a tiny little fishing village called Eyemouth in Scotland, and it is very far away. And from there, I have been all over. So I have lived in Africa, in Kenya. I have lived in Europe, where I worked for the British Army, and I now live in Mauritius. But as you pointed out, I'm in Northern Ireland for a moment.
For a moment. So what brings you to Ireland right now?
What brings me to Ireland is the big Corona mix-up. So I've not seen my husband for 4.5 months. He got stuck in Saudi. And I had to bring his children to see him before he goes back to work. So we jumped on a plane, literally on the Thursday we decided, on the Friday I was on a plane, and on Saturday I was in Northern Ireland, just like that. Make it happen.
Well, how great is it to see your husband?
It's so amazing. Oh my goodness. After 4.5 months, I can't even describe how amazing it is.
So why are you guys apart? What does he do? Why is having
So he works on oil rigs. So his standard is 1 month away, 1 month home with his family. And with the Corona, he got stuck because the borders from Mauritius got shut down. So nobody could come in, but I was allowed to leave. So that's why I came to him when he couldn't come to me.
I know it's such a crazy time, and that's why I think right now, actually what we do for a living is so powerful, because I think so many people do need help. How are your kids handling everything, not being able to see their dad?
Well, my kids are handling everything quite fine because, of course, they're little mirror images of you, aren't they? And because I'm such a resilient, nothing phases me and it doesn't matter what's going on, we're going to figure it out. So they've really adopted that. So they handle things so well.
That's so true. I mean, mindset is so important. Tell me a little bit about your journey. So I think, didn't you have some other lucrative business before you started coaching?
It's so funny you say that, because I couldn't have been further from coaching. So I was in dentistry for 17 years. It was all I knew. It was my whole career. And I had built myself up the ladder to being the top of my game, and actually quite a pioneer in the industry, because I, out in Kenya, had taken a field of dentistry that doesn't exist out there, and created awareness and created a big patient base, and then eventually built my own multidisciplinary practice, which was massively successful. It was mind-blowing. It was so cool.
So why leave it? What happened?
I know, that's a question. Why did I leave it? I was kind of forced out, actually. It wasn't my choosing so much. So for anyone who knows anything about Africa, it's rough and ready. It really is quite a challenging environment to operate in, and especially business. And even from a personal perspective, there's a lot of danger there. There was a lot of armed assaults. And then towards the end, because I was there for 11 years, there was a lot of terrorism. So there was a big old terrorist assault on one of the shopping malls. And without going into too much detail, it was grisly. And my dental clinic was on the 4th floor of the sister mall. So we were getting terrorist threats weekly. We were under protection of the army. And I was a new mum. So I had a little boy at home and I'd just had a new baby. So we all know as mums, that's the most vulnerable time of your life. And my husband was out of the country. I was doing it alone. And I was one of these people who was a high achiever, but I didn't know how to do it in a way that didn't drop me into the dark side of my superpower. So I was hustling and grinding and achieving, but not self-caring, and not asking for help, and not receiving help and support, and not doing things because they felt good. I was doing things because I felt like I should, and I had to be successful, and that was the story I was telling myself. And so it ground me into the ground, really, eventually, and I got burnout.
That's what the world tells us. And
Yeah.
it's such a shame that we are told at such a young age that life is hard. You need to work hard. You need to do well in school and get a good job and provide for your family. But no one talks about really finding that spark inside you that really matters. How it sounds like you are a high achiever. You get things done. How did you kind of turn that corner and get through that tough time?
Oh, wow. Well, the decision was kind of taken out of my hands, and it needed to be. So my husband, who was born and grew up in Kenya, I mean, this was his home, just said one day, we are moving. And I said, no, we're not. I've built a dental clinic. This is 17 years. This is my reputation. This is my identity. This is all I know. I don't know anything else. I can't leave it. It's my blood, sweat, and tears. Like doing business in Kenya is not like doing business in Europe or America. There's corruption and there's red tape and there's mafia, and really what it took to get it set up and the following was more than I was prepared to let go. And he just really had to put his foot down. And so he moved his whole family out of Kenya, and we picked Mauritius. And Mauritius is so beautiful. And the funny thing is, Honor, that I landed in Mauritius with the full idea that I was going to continue where I left off. I was just going to build the whole thing back up again, right? I was going to start again. I was going to create my clinic. I was going to hire everybody. It was going to be the best. And oh boy, did I come up against the biggest brick wall. I got a no from every single person. I tried every avenue I went down. I hit a brick wall. So the dental council said no. Every level within the health and the medical board said no. And I worked my way up through the Ministry of Health, through each minister to the top, and they said no. And then I got myself up to the Prime Minister of the country, and I said, hey, I've got this great thing, and all your boys are telling me no, but in my world, no doesn't mean no. No just means not yet. No just means this guy can't say yes because he's too low down. So I got up to the Prime Minister, and I was knocking on his door and in conversation with him. And you have to realize that this is 3 years of work. This was 3 years of me going through the challenges. And eventually, and this goes back to your original question, which was, how did you get into coaching? Eventually, after 3 years of it being pretty much a full-time job, where I learned so much in negotiation skills and how to show up and how not to hide, how not to fear no, how to keep on going. And I eventually got a letter from the chairman of the dental council, and he said, if you continue to push to practice in Mauritius, we will arrest you.
Wow.
Yes. So
well, you got their attention, right?
I got their attention. I really did. All of them. He got scared. Now, this was a letter he sent because he was obviously a little afraid of me now because I was going up the ranks. And I have to say that that was the first moment, and I was about 34, 35. That was the first moment in my whole life, with all of my success and everything I had done, that my brain stopped and went, oh my gosh, no might actually mean no. Wow. Like, you might not be able to get where you want to go just by pushing and hustling and grinding and fighting, and which is all I really knew how to do. I'd been doing it my whole life. And so I literally, my whole world stopped for the first time. And I was like, well, this is new.
Well, you had to shift at some point into life is happening for me, not to me. Because,
well, I wasn't even there yet. I was just like, my whole world was falling apart because I was like, I've just built my villa. I've invested every penny in this country. We can't go back to Kenya. I don't want to raise my children in the UK, which is where I'm originally from. What do I do? Do I just never work? Do I keep fighting? Do I change careers? Which, when you've been grinding for 17 years, since you were 16 years old, in one thing, and mastered it, and you knew every which way, upside down, back to front, left, right, and center, the thought of changing career is pretty damn scary.
Yeah. And that's so applicable to today, because so many things are happening and changing.
100%. People are finding with this corona that suddenly the job they had been doing for so long, and it's all they knew, suddenly falls away, and they're left going, what now? Like, what now? And you start getting this internal dialogue saying, well, you don't know anything else. You're not good for anything else. You don't have any other skills. You're too old to go back and learn a whole new trade, right? This is what was going in my head.
That's the whole critter brain of lies that we tell ourselves. And boy, this makes you so relational to and resonate with so many people right now, because you've been through it. You can really
oh boy, I have been there. I have really been there. And it took me about 2 weeks of sitting in this space where I was like, I just don't have any ideas right now. And do you know what? I'm even too tired to even try and think of what to do. So I settled into this place of the space. I call it the space before thought. And you're just sitting there with no expectations of yourself or the world, and not trying to use your cognitive small thinking to come up with a solution. You just settle into this, well, let's see what the universe has got for me.
Right.
Yeah.
And how was that? Was it hard to sit there?
No, because I was, and this is the other thing, I was so exhausted, and I was actually recovering from a full nervous breakdown that I forgot to mention to you.
No, but that's understandable. I think a lot of people, and that's another thing. I'm sure other people are going through that right now.
For sure. I mean, this nervous breakdown was an accumulation, pretty much an accumulation of being a high achiever, being success driven, and also just year after year after year after year of functioning in a way that was not sustainable, and being in an environment that, I mean, at the end of the day, it came from the fact that I didn't know about the inside out understanding. I didn't know that it wasn't your external world that was creating stress inside you. It was being generated from inside. So I was in full nervous breakdown, suffering horrific panic attacks. The doctor's trying to medicate me. I'm trying to find a therapist to fix me. I'm trying to hold my family together. I'm trying to fight for my career. And then one day, I mean, I was mentally, emotionally, and my whole physical body was falling apart. My hair was falling out. I was having digestive problems, a stomach ulcer. I was getting viruses and infections, and it was just cycle after cycle. And it didn't quite fit. And I was so confused because I had always been such a healthy, I mean, I worked out 4 days a week. I ate healthy. I always did the healthy things, but yet I was falling apart. And then one day, just when I was really, really at the bottom, and I was like, there is nowhere else to go. I've tried to eliminate the cheese, and I've switched the internet off because it might be the Wi-Fi making me feel like this, or what is it out there that's making my life chaos and fall apart. And I literally woke up one morning with this, I don't even know what word to use, but it was profound, and it was an insight. It was a deep knowing, all of a sudden, from nowhere, that I was creating all of this. I was doing this. It was coming from within me, and that I had all the control to be able to turn it around and to stop it. And when I had that insight, it took me about 2 weeks to mentally overcome the nervous breakdown. And it took me about another 4 weeks to overcome the physical aspects, and just recalibrate back into my nature, which is well-being and health.
It's so profound because the minute we can take 100% responsibility, that's when we get our power back. Like the nervous breakdown, or how we all are just crazy with anxiety, that's giving our power to external things. So,
and that's dangerous. That's dangerous. I mean, it nearly ruined my relationship. It nearly ruined my health. It nearly ruined my children's lives. It nearly ruined my career, just because I thought that's how life worked.
Wow. And so you said that you woke up one day and you had a shift. So where did you go from there?
So from there, I really took control, dropped back into my power, and spent a relatively very short amount of time changing my world, recalibrating back to myself. Like I say, it was about 6 weeks, which, if you consider a lifelong anxiety sufferer, someone who was actually on the verge of breakdown for years, that's how strong I was. I was holding it together for so long. 6 weeks is not a long time to turn everything and flip everything upside down and come back to your nature and start operating from a place that feels really good and is completely sustainable. I mean, I just keep rising and succeeding and rising and succeeding, and there is no chance of a burnout. There is no chance of falling into the dark side of my success ever again, because I'm not operating from that place anymore. So from there, once I recalibrated myself back, this is a really interesting thing, because the year before this happened, for a full year, I had been working with a young lady who reached out to me on Facebook one day, as people do, right? And said hi.
Oh.
Yeah. So she said hi, and I was like, okay, hi. And she said hi, and I was like, hi. And this young girl just wouldn't sort of stop showing up and saying hi. So one day it occurred to me to actually focus on her. So I was very intentional, and I said, okay, hi, how can I help you? And I wasn't a coach yet, not at least professionally. And anyway, we went on this crazy journey together where it turns out that she had every humanly possible challenge, mental, emotional, and physical challenge, and spiritual challenge going on in her life that had almost led her to kill herself from an eating disorder, that was creating her to have horrifically destructive behaviors, gym addictions, and self-harming, and anxiety, depression, and agoraphobia, and anyway, everything that you could imagine. And she'd been under top teams of therapists for a decade from London, UK. And they had pretty much said, we can't do anything for you. You just have to kind of learn to live with this the best you can. Mm. And the journey we took was amazing. And within a few months, we had completely eradicated from her body, from her system, every mental, emotional, behavioral, and spiritual challenge, mental health disorder, cognitive distortion. We had eradicated it from her body. And then we spent the next few months projecting her out into the society that she had spent her whole life hiding from and fearing and feeling judged by, projecting her out into a position where she was now revered as a team leader. She was being headhunted by the people that had been giving her therapy 5 years ago, 8 years ago. Yeah, they had her sitting on the board of the mental health board to say, how did you do that? What did you do? How did this succeed where we had failed in 10 years? They were completely dumbfounded and puzzled. Wow. Yeah, it was crazy.
So that was your beginning of your journey, it sounds like.
Yes. So that came to an end just as I got the letter saying, you are not going to do dentistry anymore in this country. So, and then I dropped into the space before thought and just allowed what was in me space to come up. And one day, again, everything in my life seems to happen so profoundly and abruptly, and from a place of despair. And I was flipping through Facebook. I remember sitting on my bed, flipping through Facebook, and something just struck me. It was something that Will Smith, you know Will Smith, the actor?
Yeah.
Right, so he's into a lot of personal development, and I hadn't even really thought about personal development before. And there was something that a video that he had done, and it hit me like I had been hit by a ton of bricks. And it was like, oh my gosh. And it was literally like, you know, when you're on your deathbed and your life flashes before your eyes. It was like that. It was literally every moment of my life from the age of about 5 years old, where I had to witness my mum going through anxiety, depression, and medication, and going through bullying, and going through emotionally abusive relationships, and going through moving country, and going through miscarriages, and literally every challenge of my life flashed before my eyes. And I realized how crazily equipped I was to transform other people's lives, because I had been there. And this was the thing that Nicole, the lady I had worked with for a year, kept saying. She said, you transformed me because you have this ability to connect on a level that no therapist, that nobody else could touch, like a soul level. And you could see me in a way that nobody else could even begin to see me. Like, I could see her before her story got in the way, before her past got in the way. I knew how humans worked from the inside out. So it was as though this 5,000 piece puzzle, all the pieces clicked together, and it just said, this is what you're here to do. Your whole life, all of your struggling, all of your pain, all of your challenges, everything you went through and overcame and understood on a cellular level is to make up this beautiful puzzle that says, this is your path. Coaching, transformational coaching, touching souls, seeing souls, waking people up to who they're supposed to be in this world and what their potential is and what the possibilities are for them, and just elevating them up and accelerating them up into that is what you're here for.
So tell me then, who is your ideal client? It sounds like you have such a gift to really touch people who have been through or struggling. It seems like you make things so easy. Like it went from struggle hard, work hard to like now it's flowing.
Yeah, it's so flowy. And it's interesting because in the coaching world, you get asked this all the time. Who's your avatar? Who's your client? Who, you have to narrow it down to this tiny little client. And I've been doing this for years now. And I have so many clients under my belt. And whenever somebody asks me this, I'm like, do you know what? I work, or I choose my clients depending on if I resonate with what their story is or where they're at. And I've never managed to narrow it down to, I work with women in their 30s who are struggling in relationships. Really, it's just if I resonate with the person or not. So I have worked with teenagers. I've worked with, I'll give you an example actually of the people. So I worked with a gentleman who came to me, and he was highly successful already in his business. He wanted to be more successful. And he came to me saying that his English was not good enough to grow his business. So of course that was not the problem. And I took this amazing young gentleman in his 30s and elevated him up in his business, right? It was a gentleman in his 30s who wanted to be more limitless and grow his business. Another example is I worked with a millionaire businesswoman who had several businesses. She was in her 50s and her relationship was falling apart. Her husband was having an emotional what is it called where you affair?
Yeah.
Her teenage sons were behaviorally off the wall. She had written her suicide note because she couldn't handle what was going on anymore, mentally, emotionally, physically. She was relying on alcohol. It was all falling apart. So I turned her around in 6 weeks. And then I have another lady who I was called in on a corporate level. So their CFO was in the middle of a full central nervous breakdown. So she was saying, I'm leaving the country, I'm leaving the company, I'm checking myself into the hospital, and she's just crying and crying and crying and crying. So I worked with her for 6 sessions, 6 intensive sessions, and she was back to work, doing better than she had ever done before, completely recalibrated mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, and a pure asset to the team. And I mean, the array of people that I work with, this is what I love, is the challenge of who's coming next. Who do I get to work with next? What is the challenge? Because it all comes down to the same solution for me. Realigning people back to who they're supposed to be, cleaning out what's creating the issues in the first place, dropping them into their power, and then elevating them up to where they want to be. It's this wash, rinse, repeat. Yeah. So whatever the challenges, whatever age you are, whatever sex you are, whether you're corporate or not non-corporate, it really doesn't matter to me. If I think you're cool, you excite me a little bit, and it's a challenge, then yeah, I can take you on.
Well, it's so exciting to think about, because you're right, so many coaches niche down to something. But when you really look at it, everything as a whole, we're all so incredibly different, but we're also incredibly connected at the same time.
Yes, it's so true. It's so true.
So it sounds like you really impact so many people that it's just literally a gift that has come to you. How did you hone your skills, or really decide kind of your technique and how you were going to help people?
By doing it, and by being obsessed with it. So when you become a transformational coach, the world and your environment pretty much becomes your laboratory. So I drive my husband and my children crazy, because I'm constantly in coaching mode, where I'm trying to figure out why, what's at the root of that. Sometimes my husband is like, can you just let me be annoyed about this silly thing without saying, well, that's not really what you're annoyed at. If we go further down, we're going to find out that it's something to do with like 5 years ago. And this is just mirroring, he's like, can you put it down already? So I'm constantly, it's like when you do a PhD, you're no longer really learning from a book or from a lecture. You're learning from real life. You're embodying it. You're watching to see how it impacts and the effect it has. And then you go out and you discover the truth of it for yourself, so you can really embody it and know it, rather than just cognitively understand it. So like I say, I'm obsessed. Everything.
And why is this so important to you? Is it because you feel like it was a gift given to you, or?
I'll tell you a story, and it's not a story that I have ever shared before in a podcast interview, and it's not a story that I actually tend to share outside of very, very close family. There was a moment when I was living in Nairobi, Kenya with my husband, and he had just come back from his month on the oil rig, and we were standing in the living room together. And my husband and I are deeply connected. We've been together since I was 19, so my whole adult life. And we've been through an awful lot together. And we were standing in the living room, chatting. And the next minute, I was taken off to another time and place and space. And I could see it as though I were there, observing myself. And I was in a wood with a path and trees. And the feeling that was in every cell of my body was a feeling of absolute knowing and trust and contentment and peace and bliss and serenity. I was just like, oh my God. Oh my God. This is how it's supposed to be. This is how life is supposed to feel. And then I remember going, I have to tell everybody. Everybody should know about this. Why do people not know about this? And getting such a sense of how people are so wrapped up in asleepness, just thinking that life's happening to them, and being a victim of how they're feeling and not having any power or control. And I was like, oh my gosh, everyone. It was like calling. Everyone needs to know about this. You need to tell everybody about this. This is how life is supposed to feel: effortless, peaceful, bliss in your heart and your soul, connected. And here's where it gets crazy, because I'm left brain. I've got a science background, right? I don't believe in fairies and unicorns and magic. I don't. I'm an engineer in here. And I remember at that very young age, before I had even gone through most of the struggles of my life, a good 10 years before I was going to go through all the things that would have me wake up so abruptly. And I remember I suddenly came to, and I looked at my husband, and I must have had this shocked look on my face. And I looked at him, and he had the same look on his face. And he looked at me, and I looked at him, and we could barely talk. And he said, "Did you experience that?" And I just looked at him. I said, "Did you?" And he went, "Did you?" And we were both standing there just dumbfounded, having experienced the same, whatever it was. I don't know to this day, but whenever I start to question anything, I always drop back to that. And I say, no, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be, having experienced all the chaos and tragedy and everything just as I was supposed to experience it, to know what I know, to have the wisdom that I have, to tap into the intuition that I have to do that.
Wow. That's the gift. I mean, what a gift to realize, and everything that you've been through, to see it as a gift, because it's helped you get where you are today. But what would you say to someone in our audience that's listening today that's really struggling, and they just need an answer, and they just lost their job, and everything in their circumstances seems to be awry? What bit of advice might you give them?
Well, it occurs to me to say, invest in yourself in this moment. If you don't know what to do, if you're struggling, if you've tried to do it by yourself, don't keep struggling down the wormhole. Whatever you can put together to invest in personal development, or invest in a coach, or invest in cutting the lesson short by being in the presence of someone who already knows how to get you out of there. Just invest in yourself. And if someone is not in a position to invest in themselves, then the one piece of advice that I would give is to, first of all, go and read Super Coach by Michael Neal. Okay. Go and read that book. And the second thing is to try to quiet your mind, where you're not struggling and suffering in your memory or your imagination. And just try to find that space, the space before thought. And if you can just find that space and sit in it, then it'll really, magic happens in that space.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And so do you personally have a routine, or what you do on a daily basis to get you calibrated to the right energy yourself?
I don't have a routine, but there's two things that I would say that I have in my toolbox. And without going into I don't know how we are for time, but I have this, and I think you do too, this powerful, powerful tool, this EFT tool, that really helps you to tap into your subconscious and show you what it is that's holding you back and that's really causing you to compound toxic emotions and toxic beliefs and toxic thoughts, and how to remove them. It's a very simple tool. So anyone listening can Google EFT. You can Google a video. You can look more into that in your spare time. There's so much free stuff out there when it comes to this. But I call it hitting the reset button. So using this tool to remove all of this toxic compounded stuff just hits the reset, and it calibrates you and allows you to sit in your true nature, which is really well-being. It's what your body's always trying to come back to. Never ignore the little things. Never ignore the little things. Listen to your body. It talks to you and it tells you exactly what you need. So I did that for so long. My body was to the point where my body was screaming at me. So again, slow down, get quiet, listen to what your body is trying to tell you. And the third thing that I do, which I attribute massively to my success, is I do the moonwalk. I'm constantly doing the moonwalk. So whenever something in my life occurs that doesn't feel good or isn't what I want or isn't serving me well, I moonwalk backwards to say, well, why did that occur? How would I do it different? And I'll take it back. Well, I should have. I did that. It failed because I was overtired. Why were you overtired? Because I didn't go to bed on time. Why didn't you go to bed on time? Because I was up, and I would go back all the way back to whatever the core is, and I shift that core, and then it'll put me on a whole different trajectory.
And it usually starts with a thought.
And it always starts with a thought. Everything starts with a thought. Everything. And that's why I say go and read Michael Neill's Super Coach, because that explains, that's probably one of the best books that I've ever come across for somebody who doesn't understand or doesn't know or hasn't heard about the inside out understanding yet. Right. And when you read that book, it gives you, it's a great starting point to start to understand and start to feel the truth in that. And if you can just get to that place, your whole life will start to change.
So tell me, what does it look like to work with you? You know, if there are people out there, it's like, this sounds interesting. And I think about it. Listen, everyone, you know, you hire a soccer coach for your kid to learn soccer. You get a coach or a dance instructor to learn dancing. I see the value in life coaching, because who wouldn't want their life to work better and more efficiently and more fulfilling? So if someone's interested in a life coach, what does it look like to work with you?
I think it was Bill Gates that said everybody needs a coach, whether it's a gymnast coach, a soccer coach, a golf coach, or just a coach in this life. Because what a coach does is, yes, you are on a trajectory. Yes, you are living your life. Yes, things are happening for you. But what a coach does is it gives you exponential growth. So you will get more faster. Mm-hmm. Right? With all the support and the guidance, and it just cuts out all the suffering, and it just really accelerates whatever it wants. And I'm a coach that believes in past, present, future. So there's a lot of coaches that won't touch the past. They'll touch a little on the present, but they're trying to push you into the future. And what I know is you have to do the whole spectrum to get permanent transformational results. And another myth is that it has to take a long time. And this is where I'm really all for, no, it can be, your whole life will change in 3 months. Right? So what does it look like to work with me? So there's 3 ways that you can work with me. You can work with me one-on-one. So normally it's a minimum of a 3-month package. And I always over-deliver. So in the 3 months, I just do whatever it takes to get you from where you're at to where you want to be. And you have constant access to me through walkie-talkie, and we call once a week, an hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever it takes. So that's really my investment package, where I just show up to play full out to the client. The second way you can work with me is you can jump into my program called Freedom and Fire, where I take you through the rapid realignment method. And it is just smoking in there. So I do an intake every now and again, sort of every 6 weeks. And there are people in that program who are just transforming at a rate of knots. And we go through together, and we do a live call every week. The energy in that group is just fantastic. The support is fantastic. The teachings are fantastic. It just blows my mind. It's amazing. And if that wasn't for you, then I also have a third option, which works really well, especially for corporate people, I find. So they come to me at a time that suits them and their busy schedule, and I sit with them for 2 or 3 hours. And we just do whatever it takes to deal with whatever's going on in their life in that moment. And they can just phone up whenever they want. And we do that intensive. And we do it either through the internet, of course. Everybody now has a webcam and a microphone and an internet access. So that is so powerful. It doesn't take any of the power away, doing it through the internet. Or if you're in Northern Ireland or Mauritius, then I'll meet you in person, right? Or if you want to fly to Mauritius, then of course, this is the next thing, actually. This is an idea that I've had, that to bring people in for a week or 10 days, and we do a 10-day rapid transformation intensive. That would be so cool in Mauritius. How amazing would that be? Why not?
Yes, sign me up.
Absolutely.
Hopefully everyone will start, continue to travel, and it's going to get better and better. So those options, because those mastermind retreats that people do, which just sounds like something that you might do, that is just so intensive, massive shifts in such a small amount of time. And that's what's so great. There are people that want more time, and then there are these busy executives that are like, nope, I need it now and I need it fast. And
exactly.
And it's great that, you really cater to the people you work with, and that's what it's all about. So one more question. Yes. If you could give one bit of just encouragement to our listeners, or maybe just a piece of advice. You've given us so much. I'm like so excited. You are right. You do ever deliver. I've loved everything about the interview. Is there anything else you'd like to say to our audience?
Yes, I want to say 5 words that have the power to take you from wherever you're at, and I'm assuming it's not the best place, and take you to a different place that will serve you better. And I want you to write this down, and I want you to say it whenever it's appropriate. This is a temporary challenge. This is a temporary challenge. And just start saying that out loud in replacement of whatever else it is you might want to say. And the power of that. So I know I have experience of this working in a group of, again, people with mental health disorders, eating disorders. So I'm always talking about extreme cases. Of course, I work not only with extreme cases. Those are just great examples of what's possible. Where they were going over and over and over their story and just talking as they would normally talk. And the only thing that was put into that group were those 5 words. This is a temporary challenge. And the transformation that started happening throughout that group was powerful. So just start using those 5 words.
That's profound, because if we can wrap our heads around that, we realize that it's not going to last forever, and things do change, and
Yes.
we can create whatever we want.
And if I can, little Susan from Eyemouth, fishing town, who lived with her, her mum and her dad and her grannies, and was told, leave school at 16 and just go start, hustling away and working and going, lifelong anxiety and emotionally abusive relationship. If I can do it, I'm not special. I am not special. I'm exactly the same as every single person out there. And if I can do it, they can do it. Everyone has the same capacity.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, how can we find you? Do you have a website, Facebook? I know that there are people out there that are like, I need to work with Susan.
Yes, so I have a website, www.susanhales.com. You can contact me through there. My email is contact@susanhales.com. Very simple. I'm also on Facebook, Susan Hales. So that is my business page, SUSANHALES, Susan Hales. Just type Susan Hales, you'll find me. You will find me.
And for everybody, I will, wherever this, when I put it on Facebook, when it's on iTunes, the podcast, I will put all of Susan's information down below within a link, so you will be able to find her quickly. And you can always message me if you have questions and you can't get to her, but I know that you'll be able to. And it is just really, honestly, such a pleasure, because I've been interviewing people who are really making an impact in the world. And you clearly are helping people everywhere. And that's just so powerful. It literally moves my heart when I think about it.
Thank you.
So I just want to thank you for today, and I just really have enjoyed our talk, and
thank you.
I wish you the best with your family. Do you have any plans with your family today, or?
The sun has come out. It's been raining nonstop, and my whole body is recalibrating frantically, going, where are we? What are we doing? Let's go back to Mauritius. But the sun is out. So I've been shopping, and I bought some new running trousers. So I think I'm going to put my shoes on and go for a run. I've actually got another interview straight after this, funnily enough. I was called this morning. So I jump on that, and then I'm going to put my running shoes on.
Okay, well, awesome. Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Honor.
We will be seeing you around for sure.
Beautiful. So, thank you so much, Honor. This is a real pleasure.
You are so welcome. Have a great day.
You too.